All right, let's talk about anxiety. We usually treat it like this enemy we have to crush, this tiger in the room we've got to fight off. But what if that's a totally flawed approach? Today, we're going to dive into a completely different way of thinking about it. Not as a foe, but as this built-in alarm system that we can actually learn to understand, manage, and even work with.
Ah, man, we've all been there, right? You get that one-line email from your boss that just says, "We need to talk." And bam, there it is, that jolt of panic. Your heart starts hammering, your body goes into total high alert. And our first instinct is always to shove that feeling down, to just make it stop. But here's the crazy part. That very act of fighting it, that's what's actually giving anxiety all its power over you.
So, what is this feeling, really? Well, at its core, anxiety is an ancient survival tool. It's the alarm system that kept our ancestors from being eaten by predators. The problem is, our brains haven't really gotten the memo that a vague email isn't a saber-toothed tiger. So, in our modern world, that same system gets triggered by psychological stress, and the volume gets cranked way up. And when we start treating this protector like a constant threat, it traps us. It becomes a prison. This quote from clinical psychologist Dr. Thomas Smitherman, man, it just flips the whole thing on its head. He says to think of anxiety like a really annoying house guest, the one who just won't leave. If your whole day revolves around waiting for them to go home, then guess who's in charge? They are. But what if you just accepted they were there, felt the annoyance, and went about your day anyway? Well, now you're back in charge. The goal isn't to kick anxiety out, it's to stop letting it run the house. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the biology behind this feeling. It's your fight or flight response. Your body gets flooded with hormones like adrenaline, your heart rate skyrockets, and your focus narrows down to a pinpoint. It's basically your body's generic alarm screaming, "Do something now." It's designed to move you, to take action. And that right there, that's the key. If we can understand what's happening physically, we can start to work with it. Okay, so if fighting it is a trap, and we can't just get rid of it, what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to the first part of our game plan, the reframe. This is all about changing your relationship with anxiety, and it starts with changing the story you tell yourself about it.
You know, one of the biggest things that fuels anxiety? It's that voice in our own heads. For a lot of us, it's like having this mean, bad coach screaming at us, pointing out every single flaw. That inner critic keeps our threat system on high alert 24/7. So the reframe is to consciously fire that bad coach and hire a good coach, someone who still pushes you, for sure, but does it with support, telling you, hey, mistakes happen. It's part of the process. That one shift can start to calm everything down. Now, this next idea, this is a real game changer. Get this. In your body, anxiety and excitement feel almost exactly the same. Heart pounding, a surge of energy, butterflies in your stomach. Sound familiar? The only difference is the story you attach to it. Anxiety focuses on what could go wrong, while excitement focuses on what could go right. So instead of trying to go from 10 to 0, which feels impossible, just try to relabel that energy. Ask yourself, what's the opportunity here?
And all of this really boils down to one simple but super profound idea. Stop fighting the wave. Think about it. If you're at the beach and a huge wave is coming, what happens if you stand firm and try to punch it? Yeah, you're going to get wiped out, right? But a surfer learns to ride it. That's the whole idea here. The practice is just to notice the physical feelings, watch them rise and fall, and trust that they will pass.
Okay, so the mindset stuff is huge, but how do we actually do this when our heart is racing? This is where we get super practical. We move from our minds to our bodies. Because your mind and body are a two-way street, you can use your body as a tool to change how you feel, like right now.
Okay, you have got to try this. It's a tool from neuroscientist Andrew Huberman called the physiological sigh, and it's basically the fastest way science knows of to calm your nervous system. Here's why it's so brilliant. When you're stressed, tiny air sacs in your lungs actually collapse. That double inhale, that second little sip of air, pops them back open. Then the long, slow exhale gets rid of carbon dioxide and sends a direct signal to your brain to slow your heart rate down. It is a biological reset button.
So what you're literally doing with that sigh is switching gears in your nervous system. Think of it like a car. You've got the gas pedal, that's your fight or flight system, and you've got the brake, that's your rest and digest system. Anxiety is basically having your foot floored on the gas all the time. The goal of these tools is to consciously learn how to hit the brakes. And this brings us to a really powerful way to practice hitting that brake: yoga. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I'm not flexible. But it's not about turning yourself into a pretzel. It's a system designed to connect your mind to your body through movement and breath, specifically to activate that rest and digest response and release all that tension we hold on to. And you don't need to join a 90-minute class to get the benefits. Just one simple, amazing pose like child's pose can make a huge difference. Think about where you hold stress, your shoulders, your lower back. This pose gently releases all that. It's like pressing pause and giving your nervous system a mini vacation. All right, so we've got the mindset shifts, we've got the physical tools, but you might be wondering, is this just some feel-good stuff or does it actually work? Well, let's look at the proof, because the science here is pretty incredible. 54%. What in the world is that? Well, it's a number from a big 2020 study at NYU Langone. They looked at people with diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder. And after just 3 months of practicing yoga, more than half of them had major, meaningful improvements in their symptoms. That is a huge deal. But wait, it gets even more interesting when you see how it stacks up. The gold standard treatment for anxiety, the best we've got, is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. That helped 71%. Pretty good. Now look at yoga, 54%. And then look at the group that just learned about stress, only 33%. What does that tell you? It proves that doing something with your body is way more powerful than just thinking about stress. And it's not just about how you feel. This stuff physically changes your brain for the better. Research from Harvard, Harvard, shows that regular yoga practice can literally make parts of your brain thicker. We're talking about the areas responsible for learning, memory, and processing information. It's basically like weightlifting for your brain.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. We've talked about changing our mindset, using our body as a tool, and we've seen the hard science that backs it all up. It all points to one big, empowering takeaway.
And here it is. This whole thing, it's not about pretending to be happy or forcing yourself to be optimistic. It's about realizing that you are the author of your own story. That feeling of anxiety, it can be a chapter in the story called My Life is a Disaster, or it can be the chapter where the hero learns a new skill, faces a challenge, and gets stronger. You're not just managing a symptom, you're changing the entire narrative. So the only question left is, what kind of story are you going to write?